Ladies and gents, good evening. Welcome to Question Time Live, episode 138. And tonight, I've been prepping. I've been on it this week. I have been absolutely on it. And we are doing a spring pond advice special because, especially with the weather of the past couple of days, madness. It begins, that madness time of year is starting, and we need to be ready, don't we? So I know I've done bits on this on various platforms, but we'll put it here today. What I'm probably going to do is have a run through because I've made notes. I've even prepared an infographic. Oh, how's that for you? Yeah, hey, we'll go through it, and as I go along, you can fire any questions in, and then obviously, of course, I'll have a run through those afterwards. So, yeah, there it is. But the weather has been glorious, hasn't it? And I've been and found a bit of my gear, so I've got the mic plugged in today. So please, someone let me know. Does it all sound all right? Are we all good on the other side of this? I can't tell. Got no headphones in. I can't hear what you're hearing. But someone let me know in the comments before I get absolutely fired into this one. And yeah, we had, if I do at any point start looking, the eyes looking a bit heavy, bit red, whatever it is, we had a shipment in last night. It was a very, very late one. I think I got to sleep on the sofa in the end. I didn't want to disturb the wife. 3:30, and then fucking 7 o'clock back up and on it. Oh, and to be fair, it's been a productive day. It actually has. It surprised me. But yeah, just to be honest, just before I started coming on here, I was just having a bit to eat, and I thought, oh dear, can feel it a little bit. But I'm here, feeling psyched for this one as well, mixing it up a little bit this week, which I think is going to be great. But yeah, I had the whole the crew, so it looks like, fingers crossed, tomorrow the greenhouse repair, the bulk of it will be done, ready for the sheet arriving and to go on. So I'm hoping by the end of the week we're all back to normal on that, which is going to be epic. Really, really, yeah, needs to be. It's so weird having that fish house and no sheet over it. All ponds just covered over, can't see things properly. That's why I never do cover those ponds, even when that sheet's over, because I absolutely want to see every little detail of what's going on. So I really can't wait for that to get back together. And then the rest of the day, the whole crew's on site at the minute. I'll say not quite the whole crew, but Chris, Dan, Cole did have an early finish today because obviously he was there at the very end wheels last night. So yeah, we've been doing the last bit of pond reconciliation on the new system, which is cool. Also, obviously found out I've clearly been hiding fish in ponds that I forgot that I'd hidden. So we've got a few of those to start pumping out soon as well, which is always good. New fish day a few times, literally before the new fish actually arrived. But yeah, systems looking great. The lads have asked me to just do one bit for you all, is that if you have purchased from me before and you've not had your verification email, not seen it, or you've seen it and not done it, really, really appreciate you getting on there and verifying your details, because we are ready to roll out the next part of all this very, very soon. So yes, we need it done, folks. We need it done, and then we can roll on, because the next bit is close. Now we've got that reconciliation bit done. I've got to cast my eyes over some bits the next couple of days, and hopefully that syncs up with Dan being ready to push the next bit, which is going to be awesome. So can't wait for that. Shipment was fantastic. All the fish arrived well. We are absolutely bursting at the seams, let me tell you. I still keep managing to make a bit of pond space. It's remarkable, but yeah, bursting at the seams, ready to go. We've been sat on a lot of stuff because I don't think the timing's been ideal, especially with the younger Tosai, in case people wanting to ship them. It's just too easy. I'm not the one just to let them things fly out the door and not thinking about the consequences of where they could potentially be going and what could happen to them. So yes, very, very close. And I again just ask for that little bit of patience. A few more messages creeping in every day about shipping. Give us sort of to the end of the week, and fingers crossed, all will make sense and all will be simple and easy. And before long, I can start getting some of my ponds back, which is even more exciting. So yeah, all good, all good. And like I say, tonight's special. I think we've had enough waffling there, haven't we? Tonight's special is all on spring pond advice. So what I'm going to do? Oh, we've ended up with a bit of lag there. I've got some notes done. I've kind of gone over all this and had a good look. But what I'm going to start with, actually, let me load this up. I'm going to start with the infographic I've produced. Now, don't take this too seriously. I was trying to look for a way to visualize just something that makes sense. Because what I'm going to do with part of this tonight is drill into the philosophy. A lot of it will tie into my philosophy a bit. Keep it simple. What might actually help you moving forwards with your pond, making koi keeping easier and more hassle free. So, and there's things around this when I've spoke about pond heating, what's best. There's a load of different things to consider in spring of what can go wrong when it does. And I thought something to visualize it would really, really help. So let me put this on. This is not. I just did a bit more touching up on some old notes and bits of research I did in the past around bacteria activities and things like that. But I really think this will understand in a nutshell. It might do the whole show. Look, who knows? Who knows? So I've got there on the left, as you can see, your temperature ranges. Now this is not intentionally not super scientific either. So you've got the temperature ranges, and what I've done here is broke this down. I think is the four most important parts to consider. So we've got your nitrifying bacteria, which is your filter activity levels, the harmful bacterias. So anything that can do harm in there, you know the things, they are opportunistic little buggers. Parasites and pathogens as well, and then the fish's immune system, which I think is really, really important to understand in all this. And what this will do, I think this is not only spring, this will probably help you understand where your fish are at and where the pond environment and everything's at throughout a 12-month period in an unheated pond. Now, I'm going to go straight to the top of this, actually, or let's start at the bottom where we're at. So when you are unheated and everything gets really, really, really cold, as it does down there, look, nothing's really, the fish's immune system's not there. So it's completely dormant. There's just not a lot there. But likewise, look, everything else is very inactive. And this is why you often hear me say about the kind of wheat germ foods and feeding fish when it's cold like this, because look at that, your filter bacteria is dormant. I want to point that out as well. Your filter bacteria doesn't die off in winter. It goes to sleep. It's inactive unless you're doing something to actively destroy it. So that's there. The bad, nasty bacterias, they're also, not very active, and parasites not active. Now, that's not to say you can't get parasites. You can. If you do, you see where your problem is here, because, the medication is going to hit that dormant filter if you have to use it. And the fish's immune system's not going to be particularly great at that point either. Then we warm up. We warm up to what I've often said, if you're heating your pond, is the temperature range roughly where I would keep it. So that's saying 7 to 11. I've often said 8 to 12 is mine, but you see how that pretty much it tallies up. So you've not got a lot of immunity, but again, you've got low activity there across bacteria and sort of pathogens. Again, they can be there and very slow with the filter activity. Another reason why I often say when you're around that temperature is realistically no feeding is better than generally feeding, or if you're doing it, it's an absolute bare minimum amount, because once again, your nitrifying bacteria is not that active. And in these temperatures, what you have to watch is, because it's not active, if you go and rock the boat, its ability to adapt and deal with it is very, very, very slow. And then we move into what we're about to really discuss tonight, and where I think the biggest problem lies here is the spring kind of temperatures. So, your 12 to 17 up to around, before they're hitting 18 and above there, you're going to be sat in that temperature band soon for quite a while. And what you can also see there is nitrifying bacteria is still, it's slow. There's not doing a lot, but your risk has increased here around your bacteria, your pathogens. But the immune system is still not really firing, look. And this is where the problem comes, because you get wedged in that temperature band there for quite a while. You don't really want to be feeding too heavy. And then you're at a point where the fish are at risk. The fish's immune system's not there. There's stress on them. And what also is happening at that point is you could be fluctuating, look, massively. You can be swinging, certain parts of spring, we could be swinging up to that level, but you can't really base much on that, because before you know it, you're dropping down. And sometimes you might even drop down into that lower tier again. So you're spending all of the time just kind of floating or waving through those three bands there. And I think that pretty much goes to sum up, what it's like in summer a little bit in an unheated pond as well. And this is why we say, koi loves stability. But what often we're getting, and certainly with the UK climate, is this massive instability in all that, and being sat, look, in the shit temperature bands. And they are shit. It's not until, and I've said it, look, many a times now, that we get into the top band, and it's important to understand this, because yes, what we've got, all of a sudden your filter comes alive, 18 into 25 on that, look, you've got both. It's active, and then it's thriving. It really is. Now, yes, the bad bacteria, if anything happens at that point, it will accelerate, it will move quicker. But to counter it on the other side, you've got a stronger immune system going on that's also fighting back. And parasite activity, yes, if parasites occur, that they'll cycle faster. Flukes, gill flukes, you name it, they'll cycle through more. But again, we've got more immunity to play with as well, which helps. And I think that's the biggest bit in all this for me, is obviously we want more immune system activity from the fish to help counter against all of this stuff. And the filter bacteria is obviously there. And this is when you can really see you can crack on with the food, because you've got the performance of the filter to actually build upon. Hence, you see why I often say, if you're going to heat in winter, especially 18 degrees or above, or drop down to 12 or below, because that band in between is nothing but trouble and just a waste, massive waste of energy, in all fairness. So that's my little chart. It was just to hopefully try and visualize where you're going to be and what your potential risks are with your unheated pond at this time. And a lot of some of the advice I'm going to speak about is obviously looking at these risks of parasites and bacteria, which are very much opportunistic. Some parasites are, and many of the bad bacteria groups definitely are. So that's that one. Let me take that one away for now, and get back to it. So I think the big thing really of starting the spring koi pond advice for me is, this is the biggest thing you can provide right now, is as much stability as possible. And this is actually going to tie into a topic I'm going to speak about at some point, because I'm going to say that I'm not going to take into account what level of koi keeping you're at here. I'm going to go with what I think is the best advice, because we all end up spending money on the fish one way or another. And when there's problems with the price of medications and stuff these days, that really starts chewing in to your budgets. So stability is the biggest thing here, because like I say, you're going to be moving through those bands. And the first bit it's going to tie me into, and we'll get away from this after, is just how important I think having some form of heating installed on a pond is absolutely key. Now, what I'm not saying here is you need to go and put heating on and absolutely have them cooked all year round. That's not the case whatsoever. You've heard my thoughts on that before. I think at this time of year, it can really come into it. So more so than winter, because if you've seen from the diagram I did there, you can drop them down in winter, keep everything, just steady, and you don't get a lot of fluctuation. It's generally just cold. It's this time of year. Look what we've just had, temperature wise. We had it yesterday. It was nice. When I was unpacking that shipment at 3 a.m., it was 4 degrees. It was horrible. And that's when all the problems come. That's when the temperature's lost. And it's those huge fluctuations in the water you get that's ultimately creating the stress. You get the dip in the immunity or the stress exerted on a weak immune system. Those opportunistic parasites and bacteria have the chance to get in there. So stability is a massive one for me. So I am really on this is saying that I think it's becoming an essential piece of equipment really to minimize stress and increase enjoyment, to have some form of heating installed on a pond, even if you're not using it. If it's a backup, for example, just having a little electric heater for a backup. But the real ideal way here is to have, I think with the rise of heat pumps has made this conversation more practical and more achievable. And now also with the falling price generally of heat pumps and wider availability, because previously this would have been me having to say, your choice really is electric heating, and it is extortionate. But with the heat pumps, I think we're at a place now where you can actually consider. Craig just saying there, I'm going to leave them alone. I'm going to take the comments off for a minute. I can concentrate. There we go. You can still leave them, by the way. That's just so I don't see them. I see I have lost my fucking thread now, haven't I? Twat. I've completely gone with that one. I really, really have. Oh, the heating. There we go. Yeah. It's having that stability. So, as we progress through spring, you can incrementally bring that up, so, and what you can do is you can bridge that gap. Say you get your pond warm up from 8 to 11 or 8 to 12, which can happen in one day, depending on the size of the pond. You could bridge the gap somewhere in between. Think, look, right, hopefully consistently enough now. Let's get this pond to 10 and just keep it there. And what you're not getting is that massive swing all the time. If you're really feeling, fruity about it, you can just skip them through that shit temperature band and go from having them sat at that 8 to 12 in winter up to that 18 in spring. And from there, that's going to enable you to hopefully just reduce the problems. Now, when heating oil nightmare, when you warm up through this temperature band, if you are just warming up, if you've been at 18 all winter, you've chose that route and you've been stable, you're in a much stronger place, because you can stay there with your look moving towards your summer increase, whatever you're doing. But if you're moving from them cold through to warm, what you've got to remember is at the same time, you're waking everything up. So as you're waking the pond up, and this also applies, obviously, just what's happening. So this is double-edged advice, but I'm going to go through the processes if you've got control, but obviously follow along if you haven't. As you're warming it up, you're waking up your filter bacteria, but you're also waking up opportunistic bad bacteria. And all the beneficial bacteria that will live in your pond, the positive aerobic groups, everything's waking up at the same time. Parasites aren't, and just remember that immune system's still not 100% there. So you've got to be super careful not to go and overdo it with the food, first and foremost, because if you do, you're gonna tank that water, potentially add a water quality issue in there that could take a little bit of time to rectify if you're not heated to pull yourself out of it and you're just relying on natural temperatures to warm up. So that's the last thing you want to do. I recommend for this, it's just keeping control of that food. Don't be drawn in by like what the likes of today will do with the sun shining, degree 2 uplift, and then you feed according to the fish's behavior. It's very important that you keep control through some mechanism, even if it's just a little cup with a mark on that, right, I'm roughly giving them that once a day or twice a day, whatever it is. So your filter, when it's right, can build up to that level. That is absolutely essential that that happens in that way. And then as it is warming up, I think it can be definitely very helpful to, at that point, you don't need to be using these things all the time, but to be using some form of beneficial bacteria. And I'm not talking nitrifying stuff here. For me, the nitrifiers and quality ones are good to have on hand in case you get a bad spike. Not preemptive. It's an absolute waste of money. For me, the real magic here comes with the likes of a Columbo PSB bacteria or some of the other proactive bacteria, such as the lactobacteria and things like that. All the positive, healthy bacteria, because if you remember me talking about this in the past, as it's warming up, it's a rat race between all the different groups. And what you want to do, especially with the bacterias, good and bad, we've got a food source and one group's going to become dominant. So what we want to try and suppress the bad, if you overwhelm it with good, it's giving you a cracking chance from the off. And they're two, they're great ones to use and not ball busters in relation to price. Like I say, nitrifiers more for me if you actually do end up with a spike, and more ammonia spikes than the nitrite ones. And at this point, be careful with that feed. Get the bacteria added to the water just to keep the environment the way you want it to be. Keep up with your maintenance as well, nice and steady. And hopefully, everything comes through nice and steady. And from a bacteria perspective, we keep the pond balanced in the right direction. And doing this unheated will still help because, yes, you're going to get those swings, but this still applies because the swings is probably even more of a reason to use products like that, because the swings are going to play a bit more havoc with the immune system and potentially create opportunity for those opportunistic groups to pounce and attack. So I would really, like I say, unheated, look more towards that. If you are heated, you can skip through it a bit more. It's not completely necessary, but I still think it's good practice. And like I said, I'm not a big advocate for a lot of these things, but this concept really is a good one. So that's the general rule around that. The next bit I want to move to on this is parasite control, because this is going to be your next battle. So even if, again, you've got a heated pond and you're moving from cool up to warmer, so say we're going, let's do the 12 to 18 scenario, you can do it relatively quickly as well. It's at that point that you're still going to wake up and potentially, trigger a few parasites with the new temperature, the whole pond environment moving, a bit of stress with the increase in temperature. So, and I think this is just, again, good, solid koi keeping advice. Microscopes these days cost very little. Learning how to use them is very easy. There's so much available on the web to do it, and references. All you need to do, 100 times magnification, learn how to focus it properly. Taking the mucus biopsies easy, and away you go. You can diagnose parasites properly. Because what I don't, and I'm not an advocate of, got my nose itching like mad. What I'm not an advocate of is these blanket bombing treatments. Or just spring, I'm going to put a precautionary treatment in the pond, because as you've seen again from the graph, there's a chance of actually doing far more harm than good with that stuff. What you should learn to do, full stop, is be on your microscope, because when you see a problem, the first thing you can do is reference that in your water test kit, and hopefully that in most cases is going to help you get to the bottom of the problem. Now, not all parasites are easy to see, but like I say, help is really, really easy to access these days with all the different groups. There's even the microscopes with the screens more accessible than ever, where you can then share what you've found, even share little video clips and get help. My Telegram community, everyone does an amazing job in there of helping out when there's been stuff like that. So I think that's just good practices. And if you do notice anything warming up, and even just to do a proactive, I'm not a massive advocate of this. For us, it's quite essential, but I also do it as little as possible. But for you guys, coming out of spring, as you've had a bit of an increase, a bit of a proactive check for parasites, nothing wrong with that, and get top side of it before they get top side of the fish and actually become part of the problem sooner on. So absolutely no harm in doing that. If you really are, the microscope's too far of a stretch, your local dealer will possibly have that service. You'd have to check first. Don't just go taking your fish down to shops. It's really, really bad practice. But speak to someone local and see if it's a service that they can offer to help get a diagnosis or a check. But I honestly think with where they're at, where the cost of even cheap koi are at these days, having this kit it should just be an absolute essential for it. It's not like back in my early days when every scope you were looking at was a few £100. And again, the community, I'm sure people watching can advise others of where you can pick up little hobby microscopes and stuff. So long as you've got some stage lighting and the 100 times magnification, you'll get the job done. Trust me. So yeah, being proactive with the parasites is just massive, really, really massive. And what can happen there is if you're not proactive with them, you could be carrying anything on their flukes for too long, for etc. At a time when the immune system is weakened, which is a problem. Then you're going to get the attack potentially because you get that dip. There could be excessive bacteria around there because of some flukes, and then opportunistic bacteria within the water might be a bit higher, and boom, before you know it, you've triggered a bacterial problem. This is how it all works and how it all cycles. And especially, again, go back to the infographic, when you've got that madness running through all them different bands as well, it's a giant pain in the arse, and risk is high above the board. So parasite control, a massive one. Please don't just blanket treat for things, because like I say, if you've got a healthy pond and environment going on, the addition of a medication in there can rock things for the worse, which is what you don't want to do. So please don't do that, and get a microscope, learn how to use it. It will be the best thing you've ever done for your koi keeping hobby. And I know, again, compared to my early years in koi keeping, the amount of people that are now savvy is quite unbelievable. And like I say, it's not that difficult to do. So that's that one. I think, like I say, filters have been covered. Food is probably the next big one. It just tie in with your filters. So you've really got to nurse that through with that feeding, bare minimum. Feed sparingly until you've really got that steady 18 degrees or above. Underdoing it generally, especially if you're unheated, is going to be kinder than overdoing it. Then you then got a problem to fix up. And it really is a big problem, especially if you go and tank your ammonia. You might get a bit of lingering nitrite that time of year. It can be quite normal as the bacteria groups there start waking up. I'm not too concerned about that. If it's, below that 0.5 level, it's probably going to be quite normal. The ammonia we don't want to see there. So consider that, but you need to balance it with your feeding, and getting the right diet is also very important. So for me, and this is probably again all round advice, you want to make sure, regardless of what food you go for, you've got a relatively low fat content when you are unheated, unless we know we've got sustained water sort of over 20 degrees consistently. So other than that, we want a lower fat food, which is going to be easier for the fish to process and for the system to process. Now, protein plays a part in all this as well, but protein's a bit more complicated in the whole system. So I wouldn't advocate for or looking at that too much, but definitely pay attention to the fat content. That is really, really important. And that's a lot to do as well with the fish's body temperature, the general melting points of fat. Fish's body temperature will be in a couple of degrees of the water. So what you don't want to do is, be feeding excessive fat that the fish basically can't break down. And as ever with food, the quality of the protein source is also very, very important. Avoid anything. It needs to be quality fish meal. That's it. If you ever see that the main protein source is poultry meal, run a mile from that shit. Absolutely no good whatsoever. Alex has just reminded me one there, actually, that about fish temperatures. I'm just going to add that up here. because it's one that's been coming up a lot. Yeah, so that's it with the food, really. Just take it steady, make sure they're on a decent diet. I think generally, if I'm going to put it into Saki Akari terms because you know where I'm at with the food stuff. But generally, if you are unheated, I actually think your better option, unless we've really got sustain, and it just doesn't happen that much. I'd want to be at 22 or above really consistently for a good period of time to hit them with the growth. So if you're bulk buying that food, which is always the best way, I think unheated balance is going to be your best option because you've got such a vast temperature range to work through. Plus, in all that, the balanced food still delivers exceptional results anyway, and you could maybe supplement it a little bit if it's warmer. But I think all things considered, it's the better option. And remember, you're not just feeding the fish; you are feeding the filters. That's absolutely crucial, and you've got to build them up slowly and steadily. That's the important thing here. And I say it again, it's just easy to keep it consistent. Don't be reactive to how the fish are behaving or the sunshine. That's how you'll balls it up. Be controlled, get a little cup with a measure on, same amount. And then once you know you've maybe gone up a couple of notches, everything's all good, you can increase that amount on that cup the same amount of times per day. That's going to be your ultimate. That's going to be your ultimate actually for growing your fish as well. It's the same methodology I use for growing them with the auto feeders. It's just scaled back a lot to help with controlling your filters. So I think that one is absolutely essential. I'm going to say it again right now. I'm going to keep drilling this one in. I still think one of the best things you can do for your hobby is invest in heating. And I think let me explain where I am really with all that. If you are going to the extent of, and I know everybody's at different levels with all this stuff. That's why it could just be a small heater installed for safety as well, more than anything. But if you're investing in a big koi pond with the kind of money, I'm talking if you start talking here, Nexus drums, that kind of level. When you get to that extent, everyone's always working on a budget, and it is about making choices. And although drums, for whatever convenience or whatever reason you choose them, they are fucking crazy money, despite any feelings about what they are, what they do, any problems they can bring as well. That's a lot of brass. So the balance that is, if I'm looking at X budget to do this pond, the first thing I'm starting with is absolutely no compromise. I'm putting heating into this pond. And I think for you guys, air source heat pumps really do seem to be the best way. I'm putting that in and I work back from there and decide the rest from that. Because, if the filter cleaning is the issue, there's plenty of automatic systems. It hasn't got to be a drum. And I'm really putting that top of the list because I've seen it, people using it in line with my methodology of using it to heat in summer and get that 22 stable or above for growing, how that enhances people's hobby, being able to raise and grow their fish properly, how hassle-free it becomes when you get them in that temperature band look, and you've got that maximum immune firing, your nitrifying bacteria firing. At that point, everything's looking after itself a lot better. And you can just focus more on firing that food in and getting the most out of your fish for summer, rather than the crazy swings that we can have. So I just think there's so many benefits that compound. And then, you look at the heating costs, and we've seen some very impressive figures over in the Telegram group of people's running costs. Hence why I'm now more kind of relaxed and confident to push and advocate for this. Because, you are ultimately, when you've got havoc in that pond, it's costing you money, especially with them prices of medication. Now, I'm not saying that heat's going to stop all that. You just reduce the chance of having to keep repeat dose, which is where the real cost is going to come from. So, yeah, massive for me. And if I didn't have it at our site, I would be having similar problems. It used to get to this time of year and the unheated ponds would give me the jip. They'd be impractical for me moving fish around, doing stuff. So I really think it's the way forward, one way or another. If it's really not a go, like I said, I'm not saying that koi keeping is not possible without it. What I'm saying is the maximum enjoyment I think it's there with it for sure. So that's that one. And that then moves me on to another product. And this is more aimed at the unheated pond owners at this point, and it's salt. Now, salt in general, I am not having it that people, there's other content creators that do stuff I've seen that actually try to make out that there's actually a debate about how useful salt is in a koi pond. Let me tell you now, anybody who tries to make out that salt is a debate has no fucking clue what they're on about, because it isn't. The Japanese breeder industry would fall flat on its arse. There would be no fish in most cases without salt. One of the biggest problems many of us face in sleeping disease, we would be screwed without salt. We would never recover. Mortalities would be through the roof everywhere. Now, it's necessity as we move from breeder to dealer, you name it, to you as hobbyists, becomes less and less because it's served its tool for us. But that's why I'm so strong in that statement when I say it, because we would be screwed without it, let me tell you. Because when severe stress comes and the body's massively compromised and osmotic regulation is compromised, we're in trouble. Last night during my shipment, big batch of Nisai I had arrived. I'm just unpacking them. They were healthy enough, but I'm just kind of looking at everything considered and thought that needs to go up. I just shoved the salt up stronger straight away because I knew it would help alleviate the stress and help the recovery from the shipment a lot quicker. Now, when we're in a time when stress levels are high and you're potentially doing this with the temperatures, moving in and out of all those bands, it's not going to hurt to have something there that can aid with some of the filter spikes that will come, especially with the nitrite, but will also just be there to keep us more energy in the fish, because when osmotic regulation gets hit and it takes a lot of energy up, sorry, at the bad end of that, especially when like we're dealing with sleeping sickness, the fish basically starts dehydrating until it just dies. Multiple organ failure, fish is gone. Now, this is not that extreme, but what you can do by just bringing the salt level up to, say, 0.3%, half ounce per gallon, you can really just take some pressure away from the fish, give it a bit more energy for everything else there to do its job. It doesn't hurt. I advise getting a proper salt tester. Again, if you're going down this route, 0.3%, you can leave it in there, throughout spring. That's not going to hurt. The stronger levels we get into, you don't use them on a more permanent basis, but there's going to be no harm done with that background salt level in there over that period. The only medication you need to be wary of is formaldehyde, and that's direct formaldehyde most of the time, which not many people use these days. Fluke treatments, PP, many other stuff you'll be using. There's no issues and no reaction between the salt and those treatments. A lot of that is just old wives' tales, and you can actually look the science up on that quite easily with the likes of ChatGPT, or now we Google search the AI bit, and it will give you them exact answers. There's not the reactions just aren't there. Formaldehyde and salt is a dangerous one though, because there's a reaction there. I can't remember what the product is that's created from the reaction, but it's a nasty one. So yeah, I'm a massive advocate of it. So the debate really with salt comes there from what I've just said. Should I, shouldn't I, should I, shouldn't I? Like I say, I think if you're heating and you're going straight up, probably less need. But because when you're stuck in this weary temperature zone and band and all the rest of it, is when you need to be much more careful. So I think at that point it is. But when it comes to salt being needed for koi at certain purposes, there is no debate there. I'll be clear about that again. So that's another one that I think can be really helpful and beneficial for you. Obviously, we've touched upon the products now. Temperature control. Say if you can do it, you're going to be a hell of a lot better off. Feeding, get the right diet in there and be super controlled with it as well. And all this useful additives, like I've said, positive bacteria, PSB or lactobacteria can be super helpful. And then the salt. And I think all that together is pointing back to one thing, is trying to provide the most amount of stability possible. And like I said, on parasites, I think being slightly proactive is going to be helpful. Learning how to master a microscope, use it, and make sure you get rid of those parasites promptly. There's a full video on my channel for all the different parasites, not actually identifying them, but what to do in relation to various different treatments when if you actually encounter one of them, and where I will go with all that stuff. And that for me, unless I've missed anything, is sort of where it's at. Now, there is one bit which Alex touched upon, and I'm going to tap into now, is the introduction of new fish. Obviously, that does pose another threat in all this, let's say, or something else to upset the apple cart, because introducing new fish is always it's a stress event. Not necessarily for you. I think for you, obviously, it's happy day, but it is genuinely always a stress event for a pond and the fish. So at that point, I think what you've got to be careful of here is temperatures. You don't want to do anything that's going to, unnecessarily stress the fish and put you into these issues. I think, ideally, I don't know where we're going to be at ambiently, but I'd want to be at least 12 degrees or above, and make sure that the fish, where the fish are coming from, has been around that temperature for a decent amount of time, i.e. they've not just, been brought down from 18 to 12 over a 2-week period. They've actually had a little bit of time at ambient temperatures to fully adjust to it. Because then again, you reduce your risk with all that. I think it's definitely at that time of year, as you're adding new fish, salt again really comes into its own. I think it's really, really good on just alleviating the stress of it all. And I think one to bear in mind here, because as I've been speaking about our preparation for shipping fish as the end of March comes, at the minute I'm bringing everything down off. I've had pretty much everything at 18. It's coming down now to ambient. But what I'll do is I'll get it to ambient. We'll still be set. Obviously, I'm not just leaving it to itself. I've got a couple of ponds where I know where ambient temperature's sitting. So I'll use those to gauge it and have them sat around that band, whatever it is. So say it's 12 degrees. Have them sat there. I'll make sure they've been there for a couple of weeks. Everything's steady. Everything's good before we start moving them. Now, the reason I sort of say this part and making sure it's not coming from somewhere too warm is it's always a massive stress factor for a fish going from hot to cold. They don't like that because, as you've seen, let's pull it up again. Look at that one on the end. You can basically just switch off the immune system and also create a massive stress event that's potentially going to attack the fish in one way or another. So that for me is the part there you've got to be very, very careful of, and why I encourage you just to do your research and not just think, oh, sun's shining, let me get me fishing. Get clued up on it. But the other bit here is, and this is always the interesting one, is when I've mentioned about I'm dropping temperatures, are individuals who are, say, heated at 18 going, oh, quick, I need to get me fish. That's a bit for me I don't see as a thing there, because, I think 12 to 18, I have no issues with, because you're going the opposite way on that chart. You're activating their immune system. It's not a massive jump. If you're going from 12 to 25, I'd have a problem with that. It's too far. Or 12 to 22. But 12 to 18, once you've got it, you float it, acclimatize it. If we're at 18, it's sent out overnight, you're going to drop down anyway and come back up. But ultimately still, it actually be better in the shipping process, unless they're being collected, than being at 18. It's another reason I like to get to ambient, is because if we're shipping out overnight and the water's warm, it's going to crash in the bag anyway and then be warmed back up. So that's hence why I'd rather them be cooled down, have less of a drop, and then be introduced back to warmer water. I don't see issues with that whatsoever. So those individuals kind of in that scenario, you've not really got anything to panic about. It's the other way around, and why we take so much care and consideration around it. But other than that, I think when you're sort of hitting that 12 and above consistently, we're not dropping too low below it, I think it's safe to be getting your fish in and moved. Reiterate it again, providing they've come from similar temperatures and been in them similar temperatures for a decent amount of time. And please don't be too reactive. Just a week or so ago, was it? Week, 2 weeks, we had a spell of all this sunshine. I remember it well. The phone started going absolutely nuts. I was getting stressed because on every case I'm just saying, what temperature at? What temperature at? And, unheated, unheated. And I knew it was going to happen, and it did. We had a crash again, and it would have been frustrating. So yeah, that's my advice on those ones. Remember, new fish is a stress event. Please be cautious around it. Bit of salt can help. And when it's introducing those fish, I think that the best thing here for you to be doing as well is, get a new fish in, give it a week, a proactive health scrape within the pond, mucus biopsy, check the new one, check existing ones as well. Remember, if you've added a new fish and you don't know that your pond's completely parasite free, the new fish can actually become a strong food source, whatever's in the pond, and that can make the fish sick. So even doing that before your new fish comes can even help you a little bit, just to understand. Say you've got a fish on the way, you do a scrape and you find, oh shit, I've got some flukes, they need treating. In that kind of scenario, I 100% would wait and introduce the new fish. So long as it's not a mass infestation, introduce them, give it 24 hours and medicate the whole lot, because you probably killed two birds with one stone there. But it really can, it's no good jumping on a new fish straight away. My new arrivals from last night, unless I start to see something that alarms me, I will leave them now for a week completely, just to rest and settle into the new environment. And if I'd have gone scraping last night, there could have been something. I could have been tempted to jump in. I won't know if there was, and stuff can just develop over the course of that time anyway. Right now, they're just sat in 18 degrees water, salt between 0.3 and 0.5. Well, everything's generally 0.3, other than the batch of Nisai I mentioned, and that one's that. So that's my take on your sort of spring koi pond advice, ladies and gents. And I'm going to say it again here. I think the biggest take from all this, and something I'm going to become more vocal about, is that looking at a way to integrate heating into your system, especially with the heat pump mechanism for you as a hobbyist or a single pond, I just think is the key to maximum enjoyment in the hobby. It really, really is. You can have all the bells and whistles, everything, but it's the heat that will ultimately completely change the dynamic for you. So there we have it. I hope that's useful. I'm going to dive into your questions now. I'm going to first just look for any in relation to what I've spoke about, to draw a line under that. And then I'll spend a little bit of time on any other questions that might have come in just to end the show. I see there's one there from Chris, which is quite interesting. I think that might be a topic all in its own, that one, potentially. Right, let's have a look. Oh no, mixed koi ponds had a disaster. Very sorry to hear about that. Mickey, so hi Ricky. When it comes to koi ponds in the spring, how often do you check water parameters, or do you mostly monitor the koi's behavior closely? I want to make sure I'm not overlooking anything. I am a massive... So split this. When you're a more experienced koi keeper and you really understand your fish's behavior, as I do, I'm more of a reactive water tester. KH, we're very proactive with, because we have to be in our systems. But generally, I know when the KH is right. Most of the parameters fall in line. I think too much information is a problem these days in life, not just in koi keeping, but especially in koi keeping. And like I say, I think it's important to not have too much of it coming in. So if you're experienced, you know your pond well, observing the fish and learning to observe the fish's behavior is always the best thing that you can do. And when you see something not right, then is when you can go to your microscope and your water test kit to figure it out. Too much of it, I think, you can lead you to become obsessed with the wrong things in your pond, and then lead to more stress, because you could have a small trace of nitrite there that's not really an issue, but you're obsessing because you know it's there and your expectation is zero. When you actually look at your fish, they're fucking fantastic. So it's that kind of stuff that kind of boggles me with that a little bit. So, but if you are newer to koi keeping and that experience isn't there, I would recommend more proactivity. in that, because you've got to learn that observation properly. So, but certainly, not a lot will change with your water within, week to week. Uh, once a week at a weekend, a bit of time, something like that. Sometimes, I mean, especially if you're maturing up a pond, not a lot can change every couple of weeks. So somewhere in that realm, if you want to be proactive, I think it's going to be the right one for you. Marie, right. Evening, Ricky. Evening, Fin Fanatics. There seems to be an ethos amongst other groups about, oh, right, here we go. This is a good one. About deep clean and 25% water change at the beginning of the season. What's your thoughts? If your pond needs a deep clean, you need to change your pond. You've fundamentally got something wrong in there. And that's the pond that's going to be a fucking shit show as spring warms up, let me tell you. But the worst thing you could do is go and disrupting the ecosystem massively to that extent with a deep clean in any sort of way, because you're potentially disrupting positive and waking up bad. Who knows with this whole stuff? But no. There should never be. What we're focusing on here is the establishment of an ecosystem that we nurture and look after and take through the seasons. And fundamentally, if you're in and I know what you mean, I've seen them. If you're in a situation where your pond needs a deep clean, your pond isn't set up properly. That's that. And filter systems are the same as well. You just don't need, if you're having to deep clean it, your maintenance regime shit. It's plain and simple. And those deep cleans, what will happen is you'll just massively change the environment in the short term, stress, disruption. And from there, you basically got to pick up the pieces. And I've been seeing this with my fish tanks, actually, is that balance. I've been leaving maintenance longer because I all of a sudden I see, it really click in. The tank performing phenomenally well. And then it obviously gets to the point where, maintenance, then it's a bigger maintenance chunk generally. And unfortunately, changing too much water disrupts it all. So I'm completely changing where all that's at with them. And I've seen it, a lot of them species are a lot more delicate and you learn a lot from them. So, yeah, awful. I hate to see that. I really do. Hi, Ricky. How often or when would you recommend doing a scrape on koi? Would you only do it if you see something not right, or would you do it periodically? So I've touched upon that. I think it's important just with the water testing not to go chasing it too much. A proactive one, like I said, maybe waking up out of spring as things are warming up might be helpful for you. But generally, if you see something not right, and something else I want to point out here is fish do flash. It's often the way they flash. I know that's going to sound crazy, but you'll get the odd bit. It's when the amount increases or the level of aggression with it increases, you probably want to be drawn to it more. The odd one flashing every now and again, or a bit of flashing after feeding, can be perfectly normal. You don't need to be jumping out and doing scrapes on them instantly every time. David, I've touched upon salt there. Fantastic. What's the best water test kit for checking for novices? I've always been a big fan of, well, I am a big fan of Colombo. Colombo and NT Labs have always been my go-tos. There's others I've found results to be a bit ominous over the years, but generally at the minute, I'm all with the Colombo test kits on that one. No Midori tonight. I tell you what, I bet a bit of wine other night on that auction. I tell you what, I might be lining up to become teetotal. I just can't. I can't cope with the fallout from it after. It's no fun, and I barely had any. No fun. When you're actually completely off the stuff, you really feel it. Let's have a look. So I'm just having a quick scroll for relevant questions. Evening, Ricky, from a very happy corn owner. Yes, Ken. I think a few of you might have seen the live I did harvesting my corn pond the other day, and one particular one at the end I got excited about is Ken's, and with good reason. When you get to the 12 to 17 degree range, how quickly would you heat to 18? Yeah, so I think for me, I mean, I generally, so if I'm say sat at 12 and I want to get to 18, I'll probably do that over the course of a week, upping it. I've been doing it with one pond, degree a day, up like that, sometimes 2 degrees a day. uh, I generally know, obviously, how quickly it'll warm up. With your heat pumps, you might find it's a lot slower than with my system. It'll depend on the oomph you've got in it, but you've not got to hang around too much. It's always going the other way that's the problem. Hot to cold is our issue in koi keeping. Going the other way, so long as you don't go, like I say, 12:22, 12:24 too quickly, something like that, you're going to be absolutely fine. Mark is on his third microscope. This one has a screen. It's a game changer. Yes, I do agree with that. Mine is ready for replacement, and that's absolutely what I'm going for this time. Especially when we're using it a lot. It's I hate having my eyes stuck to that thing all the time. Afternoon, Ricky. I'm heated and keep the pond at 25 all summer and keep them at 22 in winter. Do I need to give them a koi a rest period and temp drop? Yeah, Stuart, I'd be more inclined to give them probably some periods where you're coming down to 18 and massively reducing the feeding. I think if you're at 22 for too long, you're having to pump a lot more food in them just for general day-to-day maintenance as well. So that would be my recommendation on that one. Better plug my power in a minute. I'm just getting a warning. There we go. Air source heat pump. Air source heat pump has been a game changer for us. This is Priceless Info, Ricky. Thanks for all this. My pleasure. Mickey's agreeing with the air pump as well. I'm bullying Stuart about his ozone. Not as much bullying as I've got, mate. I'm thinking about doing a whole video about that, mate. Honestly, you've inspired me that much, Stu. Two worlds colliding there for sure, especially with mine. I'm at the bottom of that. Oh, and I know, Marie, you don't do a deep clean. Didn't doubt it. I've seen a lot of those videos. I just look at them and think, oh my God, I don't know. I actually looked and thought, what does one of them cost? Because it just shouldn't be happening. End of. So right, I'm going to scroll back to the top and I'll see what other questions we've got. I have a bit more time on it. Wife's out at minute, so Arthur's just upstairs abusing his computer. So might as well go on for a bit longer, haven't we? And I'm more alive than I thought I would be. What's your feelings on adding oyster shells to my filtration? So oyster shells are very useful in helping stabilize KH. The amount of them you need is a bit of an unknown. It's a bit of trial and error, and I would suggest it's going to be quite a lot. I had to play with the Lithaqua in some of the showers last year. I get the feeling I would need a third of the pond volume of Lithaqua to actually stabilize what I've got going on in there. So I'm not massively into. If you look at the breeders when they're using them, there's whole freaking chambers full of the stuff. So yeah, it really depends on your situation. If you're dealing with softer water, they can come into their own more, but that still doesn't take away the potential volume of them you might need. Chris, evening, pal. My question is on what these Jap style filters. I've seen one of them videos. Be better than a Nexus. I can see why they can make the water clearer. I can't. But you'll end up more maintenance and non-bio. Seems like bollocks. Fucking agreed, Chris. Agreed. I just tell you what, right? Don't get me wrong, right? There's ways you can. I'm quite confident if you gave me a little box filter, I would find a way to make that pond work. There'd be limitations to it. There always is. And look, water clarity is just one thing. That water quality, the ability to feed your fish decent amounts, is another massive one for me. And this is what you've got to get right. And I don't like to see filters getting smaller. I just don't think there's cost to it. There's compromise to it somewhere along the line. Trust me, there absolutely is. Even as, like I say, as water volume in a filter decreases, potential retention time massively decreases as well. So yeah, without commenting on any individual stuff, I have seen a few of these and I just fucking shake my head. But the bit that really riles me up, because every bit of fucking credibility goes out the window when you've got someone who actually making and selling the product, slagging off the product that they're removing, that's likely just not been maintained properly in the first place, and then making it all fit the fucking narrative that this wonder product's gone on. And I bet we don't see any of the downsides from, you know, the installers in that respect. So I think streetwise, folks, and again, I say just another reason why actually getting into selling product doesn't interest me, because I actually had this chat with somebody over the big blues since the documentary dropped. Apparently, a couple of companies had quite an issue keeping up with supply now, and the whole bone char thing now. And the thing was, you know, why weren't you selling them? You know, you should have got stocked up. Not interested. It genuinely means more to me, feeling like I can give that credible advice, knowing that there's something there that when you go and spend your money on it is going to work and provide value to you as koi keeping and improve everything for you, than making a quick buck. And then just from that perspective, you know, the minute I'm the person then selling and then pushing, to me, the credibility of that just goes out the window, and it's not something I want to lose in the slightest. Right, let's see what other questions we've got. Got a good few in from the States today. Good morning to you all. I think it is. Just bear with me. I'm just looking for Luke Prep Queen. Yeah, something like that, mate. I don't know how I've. Let's see if it happens again next week. It might do. When there's actually a topic to discuss, it's a bit easier. And prep was literally just a few prompts to keep me on track, because when I get going, I just want to make sure I'm not repeating myself 20 times. There we go. Air bar diffuser or spray bar like you set up? Both. Why not? Both. Maximum benefit there. All at one end at pond. Absolutely fantastic. Hi, Ricky. New pond and easy pod setup yesterday and 7 toci added. Can you guide me on the amounts to feed to build up the filter bacteria? Heated, but just to stop the temps dropping overnight. Yes, these is where you got to be careful, Jason, because, you know, the difference here is that still, I don't know what temperature you're at, to be honest. That's going to dictate probably how much you should be feeding, because the temperature is also going to dictate how quickly your filter's likely to respond when the spike inevitably comes, and it will. So I don't know the temp. I can't fully answer that properly. If you want to let me know, mate, before I call it tonight, we'll get back to that one. Heating oil. Do not talk to me about the price of heating oil. I'm genuinely depressed about it. It's a fucking joke. Just like when we had the electricity one. I don't know if I've ever shared this. The electricity one, honestly, was fucking crippling. It really, really was. We went, I can't remember when that period was, when bills just went spastic and commercially they got battered. And the minute my contract ended, our electricity went from £2,500 a month to just over £10,500 a month, locked in for 12 months. It's just boggling, isn't it? It really is. And that was a nasty one. And now the call I got the other day before me greenhouse blew away was that heating oil for me at that point was 100% increase. God knows where it's going to end up now. And I don't know why my screen's lagging. Apologies for that, folks. But yeah, just the trials and tribulations we have to go through, but they're truly, at times you just think, what the hell, honestly. Evening, when doing a very high dosed PP dip for an individual fish, how would you dose it? 1, 2, 3 bath, 1 gram, 2 gallons, 3 minutes. Rob Richardson, evening Ricky. Extending existing pond and have set up temporary holding pool to run off existing Oaza drum. Should I install black liner inside blue holding pool to maintain koi colour? I won't worry about that, Rob. It's only something temporary, mate, often a bit of stress reaction. You'll find as it coats up and grows algae on it, it'll do the same thing. Tom, how big can golden corn grow? I think I'm going to add one to my collection. Fucking massive is the word. There's some true beasts. I think if you're looking at the truest, size, you want to go more. I mean, the Ginrins, there's been some vast examples. 80, 85s is just easy for these things. But the ones that really are unhinged are the what I call the newer types. So the ones that look a little bit Kimetsuba-like, or the Kiyosagi type. If you can watch the video, the live stream I did the other day, it's those ones that tipped the scale size-wise, and the genetics go a lot closer back to original kind of Magoi stuff. And honestly, they're unhinged. There's one at Taniguchi, that new type, the greeny yellow colored ones, that is a 95 cm now. The last thing of checking, and the body is just divine on it, and they can do it so young as well. So there's phenomenal genetics built into the whole thing. It's all built off of a Chagoi that was over a meter, a Sagi blood, Karashi blood. It's all thrown in there. So yes, vast is the answer to that question. I bought who's this? I can't username. I think I bought Dainichi Tosai, and I wasn't able to feed and grow them on to move in, and now they're going to be going into their third growing season, and they're sat about 33%. Should I just start over? No. Try and get them cooked. If you can get them at that point, if you can warm them up this year, you'll salvage a lot out of them. Give it another year, losing it, I think your chances are going to start decreasing dramatically every year on from them. But no, don't just give up. Cook them up and see where you can go. See all new comments firing. You don't want me to go tonight, do you? Clearly, we're on a roll, aren't we, folks? We're on a roll. Would you reduce salt from 0.3 to say 0.15 when the temperature is above 18? No, I think the big thing is you probably want to be maintaining it stable at 0.3, but don't forget your water changing all the time. You're doing stuff. So from 0.3, when you're happy things are settled, just naturally let it go away like it will do over time with your normal maintenance regime. Don't stress about them things too much. Hi, Ricky. Would you clean out filters such as backy showers in spring? I think a periodic clean of backy showers is a good idea. I'm doing mine generally once every 6 to 12 months, depending on practicality and if I feel like it needs it. And that's actually just a wash down of the biological media, especially when it's ceramic. I think that's only where the need or any kind of matting and stuff in there. But it's only a wash down with pond water as well, so you don't completely destroy it. And ultimately, for me, showers are not the main filtration source either. Hello, Ricky. What's your idea on a 4-tier backy shower? Find a good amount of water to go over it, or as much as possible for the degassing. It's fed straight from a skimmer. It depends on what you're trying to achieve with it. Obviously, yes, the higher flows, you're going to get more degassing effect. But the biggest thing, rather than the flows, is the airflow design of the backy shower is actually the most important in all that. As an oxygenation device, the minute you put filter media in it and it becomes a biological filter, the chances of actually producing any increased oxygen from it become very limited unless you are absolutely pummeling amounts of water. I've only ever seen done in Japan. So if you want to really maximize degassing and aeration from that, you need to design them in such a way that doesn't involve any media inside. But yeah, it depends on what you need to achieve flow rate wise. If you're heavy feeding, you want to use it to increase pond turnover. How much do you want to increase it by? There's more to that question, to be honest, for me, than just saying, yeah, pummel as much as possible. Obviously, pumping water at head comes at a cost as well, and at high flows, it comes at a cost. So is it completely necessary? What is the main purpose of the shower is the bit that wants to be answered first. Ian and Ricky, what parameters all good? Couple of fish, flashing, found treat. Should I PP now, then PP bath when I get the new ones in March? Wait to do the lot. No, Richard, if you found it now, you want to treat it now. Get your new fish in March, settle them down, and see where you're at. If you need to treat again, treat again. PP is one of the ones that I'm going to set aside because depending on your system, there can be a lot of benefits come from it. But again, I want to be careful with that because what I don't want to be doing is people just willy-nilly treating and battering ponds with PP because there are also, downsides and risks that come with it. But if you've got a parasite right now, get that dealt with. You don't want to be leaving it, especially as you're getting flashing. You've identified it. It's probably building and developing. So, and then, like I say, deal with the next event that comes along. Give it a bit of time. Clean up after that. Getting some shit for me wine glass. That was a good wine glass. What are you on about? I clearly can't drink for shit anymore, though, eh? Shocking. The PP dip one I've mentioned a few times. I think it comes down to preference. I do keep pointing out that it's not a solution to everything to dip a new fish when it arrives. Look, I've not done it last night because of the amount of fish, but also how those fish arrive, I won't want to put them through the stress of a PP dip straight away. It can help, though. I think it's important understanding the origins of where it comes from. A PP dip is not going to, if you're potentially importing a bacterial problem, it's not going to stop that from happening. That's still going to potentially happen. So I think it's just preference. I sort of see it. You're not going to do any real harm given, coming from, if I take my place, for example, the fish are not under the same stress as they are when I receive them from Japan. So I don't think there's any real harm to it. But also don't think it's the be all and everything because once it's into the pond, there's a chance that the whole mixing process is going to trigger something else. So still a week later, I would encourage you maybe to proactively just have a checkup. And then the last one, this is going to be the last one. Love this one. Do you pre-dissolve your salt or just bung it in? I just bung it in. The day I see a breeder mixing it, pre-mixing it, I will do the same. The bit that makes me laugh with this is it's just presumed, like when you put a treatment in, like fish just swim into it and sit there and let it fucking blow the gills out. What actually tends to happen is if the minute they get that, they're spooked away. They come near it, sense it, don't like it, they fuck off away from it. It's what they do. They ain't that daft. So yeah, I ain't got time for mucking around with that one. Just get it whacked in. What you don't want to do as well is, if you're coming up to 0.3, it might just be worth doing that over a couple of days. If you ever need to go higher again, building that up over another couple of days from there, rather than just going from 0 to up and then up. Definitely worth building it up slightly. And Doug's just said need to get back on the Baileys. 100%. There we go. Oh, sorry. Just got one bit there. Jason just coming back to us. Is it 11.5? Jason, so you're 11.5. I would be very, very careful where you're at. Your feeding needs to be probably once a day, just a small amount. But bear in mind that new system, I would actually be encouraging you to warm that up more now. If you are, you are feeding into a new system, that spike is going to come. I'd rather you be at 18 degrees at least for it, and still at 18, feeding a small amount once per day for now is exactly where it'd be. Do you know if salt takes sumi away? Shouldn't do. I mean, pretty much most Japanese pond water's got salt in at some level most of the time, and even my own see some pretty damn impressive sumi around. So no, shouldn't do. at all. And might initially, I mean, if you salt bath in it, it's a stress reaction. Certain types of sumi, when they react to stress like that, will fade off. Put it back in pond, it'll come back up. But that also depends on the sort of sumi it is as well. So there we go, ladies and gents. Hope you found that useful. I have got just one little thing to mention. Oh, one little thing. So there is actually on the Koi Online website, I published an article. In fact, I don't know if I've got it to hand here. Just bear with me a minute. I can probably post it in the chat. Nice little article. I was doing a bit of writing and about Nogami Koi Farm, one I absolutely love. Really do. I think it's one of the most special Kohaku bloodlines in Japan. It really is still. I've just posted that into the chat. If you've not seen it already, feel free to go over and have a read. Yeah. We might, you know, be basing our next grow out around that farm. You never know. I might have quite a lot of them that have well cleared quarantine quite a while ago and been waiting for their moment. And it might not even just be Nogami Kohaku. It might also be the highly popular at the minute Nogami Showa as well. You never know. And there might even be some real full season growing options built into this. So you might want to be ready tomorrow to tune in, because I probably will be doing a Koi Focus stream and having a chat about a few bits and bobs we've got going on. So you might want to pay attention to that, ladies and gents. But other than that, have a read of the article anyway. I'm probably going to do a bit more on that. I've been wanting to try and get a video done on it, just not getting around to the timing on that one. But hell of a breeder. It really is. And we'll probably talk some more about that tomorrow. So there we go. Enjoy the rest of your evening. I'm going to go and have a chill now before all the madness starts again. And if you haven't seen it already as well, look out on the channel for that golden corn harvest stream I did yesterday. That was flipping ridiculous. Thanks to everyone who's tuned in, and I will hopefully catch you all